recent Canadian campaign, you know, you had a moment, along with Justin Trudeau, on the issue of the environment. And it's interesting because some would argue that this might have the potential of being the greenest government that the country's ever had, and that yet you kind of went after them on their environment policy. He came out.
No, I didn't go after him. I mean, he called me and to announce, tell me what he was going to do, and obviously he was very proud of what he was going to announce. But I just cut in on him and I said, look, you're all over the map. I know that you're trying to make inroads in Alberta, but you can't be against the Northern Gateway and for the Keystone and for further development of the tar sands and tell me that climate change is an issue you're taking seriously. It got rather heated, and he just kind of thought, I don't have to take this crap, and so he. In
fact, that's the word he used, right?
Well,
yeah, you called your position sanctimonious crap.
It was the sanctimonious
him a twerp
that really ticked me off, and I kind of said, you twerp. But you know, as I've said to reporters ever since, that is a term of endearment. Ask me what I said about Harper, and then you'll know what a really tough name would be.
So, I mean, do you see any indication since then, and since they were, in fact, as government, whether it was in the Paris climate talks, whether it's in, you know, the recent position on pipelines, do you see anything that changes your view on?
No, I mean, from the moment he got in, I mean, for me, it was anybody but the Harper government. And it's the first time in my life I've ever voted strategically, and it's the first time in my life that I voted for a party that got into power.
So you voted for the Twerp.
I did. Fortunately, in my riding, she's a great person. In fact, I voted for her in the election before that, but that wasn't strategic at that time. This time it was totally strategic. And you know, my parents were born and raised in Canada, and yet they couldn't vote until 1947 because they were Japanese. So I've always taken the right to vote as an absolute serious thing. And when we began to see things like Robo-calls, I was absolutely outraged that this one thing in a democracy that is so important was being undermined. And I was shocked that the government didn't say, this is outrageous, let's get to the bottom of it. Instead, they tried to squash the Council of Canadians' pursuit of finding out the source of the robocalls. This really was an undermining of democracy. We've got a very imperfect form of democracy anyway, the first past the post. I always say I voted in every federal election since I turned 21. And until the last election, I never voted for a party that got into office.
So that's progress then.
Well, I've never begrudged that, because there was always a legitimate place for the opposition. So again, the Harper government said to the demands of the opposition for information, to hell with you. And the courts even said this was improper.